by being in those situations. And they were tough. I've been beaten. I've been spit on. I've been electric prodded in demonstrations. And many other people that you would never know the names of that put in some serious sacrifices so that you and I could have this opportunity to have this conversation today.
Would you just advise people to, because especially us of color, we kind of run away from talking and help. We always think put on a brave face, but would you advise anyone that's struggling to reach out and get help and talk?
Definitely. No, definitely talk. Like, and make sure you're talking to, like, because I'm not going to say I didn't talk about some of these things, but I was talking to the wrong people about it. You know what I'm saying? And so find you a therapist, somebody that's non-biased, and, you know, just pour your heart out. Cause I know it helped me. It helped me. Like, and I definitely was one of those who grew up with a parent who told me to pray about everything. And that's what and not that prayer does not fix things, but sometimes it's just saying things out loud and just kind of talking about it and kind of speaking to somebody that's, like I said, non-biased to you, your whole situation in your life, and just hearing a different perspective kind of makes you sit back and be like, like, okay, like, it will be good, you know? So,
yeah. And I think we have just become a world where mental health and mental wellness is a real conversation now, because everything was, they gonna think you crazy, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Like, don't talk about it. And as artists, you know, you had to be pulled up all the time. And when you lose an artist like Whitney Houston to something as trivial as self-medicating because she was so, when you think about, and I'm not pointing the finger and I'm not blaming it, people get real funny and real touchy and real crazy when I say this, but I got to tell the truth. And if you the devil, shame on you. But most artists are just crying out for self-care. Most artists are just crying out for a moment to have mental wellness, to be able to be normal and a human being. So I pride myself in not being pulled up and perfect all the time. I pride myself in sharing those moments where I've created a lump in the side of my head from TMJ, from grinding my teeth and holding it in. It is unhealthy. It is unhealthy mentally, spiritually, physically. We are teaching our children really toxic habits, you know, toxic masculinity. Our boys can't cry. You know what I mean? It's just so much that as a community, we were taught we needed to be and we needed to do in order to be upstanding citizens, right? Now we're discovering that so much of what we learned back in the day is some bullshit. Yeah. So we really are at a place where we can be transparent. And I think transparency and authenticity is what speaks to the heart. And if it speaks to the heart, it's going to be around forever.
We always talk about health and wellness, but we always have a reluctance, and hopefully that's changing. I'm seeing it change to talk about mental health and the importance of mental health. And we all, including myself, have struggles. You know, I've spent 10 years going to therapists to talk about the traumas that I had in my childhood that affected me in my adult years. But getting a grasp and understanding that, again, I would say it over and over, knowledge is power. And getting that knowledge of understanding the triggers and the challenges of life. So I thank you for what you do, sir.
Yeah. I mean, listening to all this, I mean, I'm just wondering how much this affected child. I mean, just as couples, just their first child, and and you mentioned your mom prayer, and I'm thinking no therapy, no therapist. Talk you through this and make sure those couples are strong and
right. Yeah, no, we probably, thinking back, I'm sure we probably should have sought after some type of therapy as a couple, but we didn't. You know, I think it really brought us closer at the time. But I do think eventually it probably took a toll. You know, it was just all too much because I was overwhelmed. He was overwhelmed. He was still trying to work and he was still touring. I had pretty much stopped doing music to, you know, take care of the baby. And so, yeah, it took a toll because I didn't really know what to expect being a new mom, and then a new mom of a baby who would, you know, come into the world like with all of that stress and drama and trauma. And it eventually weighed heavy. I think well, it's not funny, but it's interesting. He and I will talk about, we'll every now and again kind of go back to those moments. And he says, well, you know, you definitely suffered from postpartum depression. I'm like, did I? And he's like, yes, you were depressed. I'm like, I was a zombie. I don't even remember. I was like, okay, maybe, you know. He's like, but you handled it all really, really well. Like, he always tells me he thinks I did so great. He's like, I don't know how you did it, but you were so strong. And I'm like, well, you too. I think and that's why I say, I think we were just there leaning on each other, but it was a lot. And so I'm sure eventually, yeah, that whole thing, not Zach, I won't say, I'm not going to blame that on a strain on the relationship on Zach, not at all. I think it just comes with the territory of just being new parents, being in a new relationship, you know, being a new family, being entertainers, all of that. It's just, you know, coupled into being a couple who wants to make the best of it, but just really there's no handbook.
Yeah.
You know, you don't really know. So I do think over time, yeah, it probably was a bit stressful for sure on both of us. And so, yeah, we tried for quite some time, and then we just realized, like, okay, this is a lot, you know what I mean? But thank God, you know, we're still co-parenting, we're still friends. Zach is still, you know, our main priority. So yeah. He's actually with Dad now, which is awesome.
You know,
I'm loving it. Look, that's how I can talk to you.